You know, Republicans love to call everything fake news. Anything that speaks ill against them, it's all fake. So you would think people who cries fake news on a daily basis would want authenticity. You would think they would want real, authentic people leading them who was exactly who they said they were. But they don't, and actually they never have, not at least in my lifetime. Back when I was a kid, Ronald Reagan was the president. He was an actor. That didn't matter to them as long as he said what they wanted to say and was all patriotic. They loved the guy. George W. Bush was a male cheerleader, but somehow they turned him into a war hero over John Kerry, who actually was a war hero. And then they got behind a failed businessman who was a reality show host who had never walked down a dirt road in his life, but when he put on a coal mining hat and cosplayed as a coal miner, they cheered for it. So I really can't say I'm surprised at this clip of Rachel Maddow, but it is great because once again, she's exposing these Republican politicians for being the phonies that they are. Take a look at this.
So in Wisconsin, Republicans are running a Selena Meyer understudy who is from California, whose bank is being sued for elder abuse and who says don't let people in nursing homes vote. In Pennsylvania, Republicans are running a guy who lives in Connecticut who grew up in a literal president's mansion and says it was a family farm where he was so poor. But wait, there's more. In Montana, Republicans really want to take the U.S. Senate seat there that is currently held by popular Democratic Senator Jon Tester. One of the things that makes Jon Tester really popular in a largely rural state like Montana is that Senator Tester is, for real, a real farmer, drives the tractor and everything. Republicans have decided to run someone against Senator Jon Tester in Montana, who is a person from Minnesota, who grew up in the suburbs of St. Paul. Since he has been running against Jon Tester, though, he has made a big deal of saying that he grew up near farmland. Turns out there was maybe farmland near the multi-million-dollar lake house he grew up in suburban St. Paul. So that's pretty much just like being a farmer.
See, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when you have someone who is authentic running against a total fraud. And it's okay if they're a total fraud as long as they put that R beside their name and cosplay as a farmer or cosplay as a coal miner or whatever. That's offensive to me. I don't know why it isn't offensive to more country people. That's why I cannot listen to mainstream country music because I can't stand to see dudes that never walked down a dirt road in their life dancing around a bonfire in skinny jeans. It offends me because I say to myself, that's not a true reflection of who we are. That's not us at all, and that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So give me the artist who is over here. He's struggling to make it. He's struggling to get heard on the radio, but when he sings about his troubles, he sings about his addictions, or he sings about growing up in the country, he really did it. I would much rather have that. Another thing that country boys in my part of the world loves to talk about is guns, and they love to talk about military service. So this next clip with this guy gets even weirder. Take a look at this.
This follows another quite unusual controversy for this Montana Senate candidate in which he either dropped a loaded gun in a parking lot at Glacier National Park and the gun went off when it hit the ground and he thereby shot himself in the arm, or he didn't really shoot himself in the arm by dropping a gun in the parking lot at Glacier National Park, but he nevertheless went to the hospital anyway. And while he did tell a U.S. park ranger that he dropped a gun in that parking lot and shot himself that day, he was actually lying about that to the ranger because really he was trying to conceal the secret truth that he had an unreported war wound that he didn't want anybody to know about. But whatever happened, it was definitely near farmland. There was very near. You could smell it nearby in the vicinity.
Do you guys remember back when Alec Baldwin had the really unfortunate accident on the movie set? I cannot count the times that I heard lectures from good old boys about how you're supposed to handle your firearm. That was all my news feed was for weeks, was talking about how Alec Baldwin should have known how to hold a gun. But those same people were complete and total crickets when Dick Cheney shot a guy. And they'll be complete and total crickets over this dude doing what he did. They'll give him a pass. Why? Because he's got the R by his name. That's all they care about. As long as he will tell them everything's going to be okay and he will empower them to feel the way they already felt, then they'll be for him no matter what. Oh, and by the way, if you're running for office in Michigan and you're actually living in Florida, I guess they'll give you a pass for that, but check out this one.
Can I tell you, there's another one. Michigan In Michigan, Republicans are thrilled that Democratic U.S. Senator Debbie Stabenow is retiring in that state. They would love to take that Senate seat in Michigan, and so cue the headlines out of Michigan. Quote, Michigan Republican candidate caught living in Florida. This is about Republican Michigan U.S. Senate candidate Mike Rogers. His name is Mike Rogers. This confluence of where he lives and his name led the Michigan Advance to build the perfect headline for this story, which is, quote, where is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood? Mike Rogers, again, wants to be the senator from Michigan, but he does appear to be registered to vote in Florida at his very nice house in Cape Coral, Florida, where he is registered with the Republican Party of Florida Voter Status Active. Where is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood indeed?
My dad told me years ago that whenever someone starts off a story by saying, I hate a liar, they're about to sell you a line of bullshit. And whenever they say, I hate a thief, you better be careful because they're about to rob you blind, because honest people don't have to constantly remind you that they're honest. People who don't steal doesn't have to go out of their way to remind you that they're not going to steal anything from you. But people who are guilty will project who they are onto you, and that's what the Republican Party is so good at. They are good at shouting fake news. Everything's a hoax, but they themselves are the fake news. They're the walking embodiment of the fake news. They are the hoax. They're it. And I applaud Rachel Maddow for pointing it out, but what's so funny about it is that people will get madder at her for pointing it out than they will for the people for being the frauds. They'll get madder at me for making this video and come after me in my comment section and never pump the brakes and go, wait a minute, I got played. Wait a minute, these people weren't who they said they were. Wait a minute, I'm voting against someone who is authentic and I'm pulling for a phony. And again, I know I always make music references. That's because I spent 25 years of my life playing music. But I can't count the times that I've said, hey, listen to this guy over here. Listen to this girl over here. She can sing. She can play. She's from your neck of the woods. Go down to the bar. Check her out. She's great. Go check out her set. And they will drive past her for 2 to 3 hours to go watch some phony dance around in skinny jeans and come back and be like, yeah, sorry, I missed that one old girl you was telling me about, but old Jason Aldean was at Rupp Arena and I just had to go see it. Why? Why do you want to, why is someone who is not authentic so appealing to you? It's more offensive to me when I find out that they weren't who they said they were. And it's always been one of my biggest pet peeves, especially as someone who grew up in the South. I cannot stand when someone comes down here and they change their accent and they start using all these Southern cliches and they start cashing in on all these stereotypes, Kid Rock. I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. It's ridiculous. It truly is. But, yeah, they're going to be mad at me and Rachel Maddow for pointing it out and not mad at the people who frauded them the whole way.